Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Want to welcome all those who are joining this morning. You can put in the comments where you're joining from, and you can also place your questions right there so we can talk today and you can be a part of the discussion. Today, we want to continue our series in our Leading with Light. Welcome to Leading with Light. We want to continue our series, and the series that we are looking at is invisible weights and how that can hinder or your influence or your impact as a leader. I want to thank those who are joining, and you know that in these sessions I actually give you some slides so you can use as you look at the replay. All right, so good morning, Dr. Leslie from North Carolina, USA. All right, so let me first of all upload our presentation and make sure that we are right where we want to be. So we want to look at understanding that we can't serve at full capacity when our soul is on reserve. That's what I want us to keep in mind as we move with this discussion. We want to look at those invisible weights. Last week, we looked at some physical weights that keep us back. And today, we want to look at some emotional weights. Because exhaustion can feel physical, but it can be that it's an emotional depletion because you have been carrying too much for too long. And welcome, Janice. Thank you for joining. Yes, some persons that have joined will join on YouTube. We are also on LinkedIn. All right, so you can't serve at full capacity when your soul is on reserve. And those of you who are watching, those of you who are listening, please share, because sometimes the zone or linking has some delay or distress that makes persons not know that you are on when you're on. It has happened to me, and I hear other persons complaining. In the meantime, those who don't know me, I'm Dr. Marcia Thomas. I am a Christian leadership consultant, life and career coach who emphasizes purpose and works with female leaders, Christian leaders over 40, who need to just align themselves with their God-given purpose and turn it into a profitable calling. I'm also a motivational speaker, and I support masters and doctoral students to complete their dissertation. And so those are some of the many hats I wear, and I'm also a 6-time best-selling author. I talk about leadership, life, career, and purpose more specifically, because I believe that sometimes we pour into callings that are not ours and we live a joyless life. We are very good at our roles, but we are not in sync with our purpose. And so we struggle and we realize at the end of it all, that's not worth it. There is some emptiness still lingering in us. And God says He wants our soul to prosper and be in health. So, in all respects, we may prosper and be in good health just as our soul prospers. So, it's a balance that we must strike. And sometimes we do not strike that balance because we are distracted, because we are misguided, we are improperly programmed, and we don't want to intentionally move out of our comfort zone. But sometimes we need to get uncomfortable. So we need to confront our fears, our doubts, the millions of voices that criticize us, the fear of judgment, the fear of poverty. And also, I look at the fear of money, because sometimes we have the belief about money that also makes us not want to profit from the gifts and the talents that God has given to us. We have this guilt that we don't deserve and we are not worthy or we should not. All right. Hello, Nicholas. It's nice to see you this week. I've missed you for about 2 or 3 weeks. I hope everything is fine. I want us all to contribute to this conversation. It's kind of a little different because that's what I do. I create conversations that are a little different and I speak from my heart because everything in life has a purpose and everyone has a purpose, a unique gifting, unique preferences, unique interests, and unique challenges. But all of us are required to serve. That is what we are required to do with what we have. Serve. Service is common to all persons as you establish your purpose. And of course, we're going to talk about this, Dr. Leslie. At some point, we want to talk about the fear of poverty because poverty does not mean just lack of basic human resources. It poverty of mind, poverty of spirit, poverty of purpose, poverty of emotional intelligence. There are so many things, and we're gonna be talking about it at some point. Dr. Leslie, I'm giving you the heads up because I want to use it to end the series I'm going to be having. So I'm just giving you the heads up and I'll give you the details. All right, so I want to ask a very burning question. Have you ever felt like you're pouring from an empty cup while the world expects you to lead with fire? And I talk about it and I say, good morning, Nicole. Thanks for joining. Who motivates the motivator? Who motivates the motivator? So have you, again, I ask a question, felt like you're pouring from an empty cup while the world expects you to lead with fire? Because that is a silent cry of the heart that is not necessarily seen by anyone else. And there is a side that we call, and sometimes persons look at it, but we are high functioning, but we carry unresolved wounds and silent expectations that drain us and drain our leadership and drain our soul. So what do we need to do about it? Because that's the danger. That's what I want to talk about in this series as I started last week. Those invisible weights that hinder our impact on our influence that we carry around. And they are badges of burdens that we bear silently. Silently. And I too, good point, Dr. Leslie, I felt like that when I was raising my two children sometimes. And I felt like that when I was raising my two children sometimes for many reasons. Because the unresolved wounds means that your soul is fatigued. Those unforgiveness you carry with you, that betrayal, that trauma that you're experiencing, those loss that you are carrying, that persons are not recognizing, those hurts and pains that were given to you by life, by persons who you loved and cherished, by persons who you believed really loved and cherished you also. And those who you need or needed as support were not around because life happens. Life is a dynamic thing, and so is purpose, and so is leadership. We are to deliver our expectations instead of expecting persons to read our minds. We get that understanding, Dr. Leslie, sometimes after many years, 50 years, it takes some persons, and some persons are just born with that nice little halo of spirit where they tell people what they expect and they don't settle for less. So, what is soul fatigue? Because when your soul is tired, nobody else knows sometimes unless you deliver those expectations. Instead of expecting people to read your mind, you tell people how you're feeling, why you're feeling that way. You reach out for support because that is what life is all about. Each one reach one. And when we each one reach one, life becomes so much easier to bear. And in this climate of uncertainty, of a lot of hurt and pain and fear, we need to understand when our soul is tired. And so we are tired even after rest because we get sleep, but we don't get rest. Sleep that is restful takes you into a deep relaxation of mind and body. And there are persons here who are, Lydia can explain it much more than I do. I'm not seeking to explain it. And there are other persons that can explain it much more than I do, because there is this issue of recouping that is very hard because you don't find the time to recruit, you don't find the time to get yourselves together. Good morning. How are you? Yeah. Yes. So we also feel empty even with our success. And so we are right there feeling empty with our success because our soul is tired. We are not getting the confirmation that we need, and we are not able to function because at our A game because of these issues. And so we find ourselves struggling silently. All right. So we are right there with that. Sorry about that. And so we are leading from duty and not overflow. Many times we are leading, we are carrying out our roles and responsibilities, we are living for the moment, getting achievements, we are getting accolades, but inside we are overwhelmed with the burdens that we are carrying that no one can see. And so I say that we need to create a life. Today we want to talk about creating a life that feels good on the inside, not just one that looks good on the outside. And we have to make sure that our soul and our mind and our body is one and pulled together. So let's look at some invisible drainers that many people who are leaders, who in their homes and life generally don't talk about. The grief that you didn't have time to feel. I remember that at some point in my life, I lost multi members of my family in a month, but I still had to show up. I still had to lead. I still had to be strong. There are hurts that you feel also, you grieve because of the loss of loved ones, and you also grieve because of the loss of relationships. It can be also because of the loss of friendships. Things go wrong. There is also the issue, there is also the issue of those who spoke over you, spoke words that silenced your dreams. So your dream was silenced and you're not able to pick up. So you're living step by step. You're moving with the flow. You're moving with the expectations, the confirmations, the validations that you are receiving. You're moving with those validations. You're moving with those words. And you're allowing those words to either give you life or take away your hope. And we have to be very guarded and very protected about that because it just does not work. Just does not work. So it's those negative sayings, those persons who we expect to support us, those persons who we expect to affirm us. And sometimes they don't understand the dreams we have, the promptings on our heart, our purpose, and so on. And they say things sometimes too unintentionally that discourages us and make us feel that we must prove something to them instead of proving it to ourselves. And so we don't become our true selves because we live under that shadow of trying to destroy what they have said, to disprove what they have said, or to prove them wrong. And that limits and drains us because we are not able to press completely into our purpose because we are distracted with our roles and what is being said more than what we are becoming and the why, our why, and who we are. All right. We also have those expectations that were never yours to carry. And so these people expect from you what they expect from you is not what you were created to do. Those solutions, answers that they think you must carry, those solutions are not yours. You were not created to solve that problem. You were not created to be all things to all of those persons. You were created to do anything, but you were not created to do everything. And the things that you were created to do were pre-designed, pre-approved, and pre-packaged for a particular group of people that we commonly call our niche, because God is sensible and he knows that you can't be all things to all men. Loss of love of someone is another of the fears, very much so. And when your soul is tired, resentment easily steps in, disillusionment also, and disengagement. Very good points. Thank you, Dr. Leslie. Marjano, thank you so much for joining, my friend. How are you doing? All right. So you might have a female leader juggling aging, aging parents, team deadlines, and ministry guilt, not showing up for your family, missing your doctor's appointment, missing important things from your family, their important milestones, missing those things. And that is extremely important, extremely important. And so we want to talk about those today. I want to just dig into a little point. So let's hear, can you relate? Lisa, 48, is an executive director who never fully processed the death of her mother 5 years ago. She kept leading and serving at full speed, but now she finds herself emotionally disconnected, even during her proudest achievement. How has that impacted your purpose? There is this loss of passion. There's the numbness for the things that you love. And there is this disengagement, this emptiness that can't be filled, even though persons are around you supporting you. And you need to take that step back. You need to just nourish your soul, get back into groove, in alignment. Look at what their mother would want. Create spaces of comfort and nurture through the things that she loved. Honor her through living your life and fulfilling your purpose. Let's look at another example. Denise, 44, is a leader who was bullied and undermined in a previous role. So no one expected that she would know after she was bullied and harassed and undermined because of her expertise, her qualifications, and her willingness and overcommitment. She's now in a position that nobody thought she would have gotten it, not even her. So though she's now in a new space, she hesitates to speak up in meetings and avoid taking bold action. She was forced into introversion because of how she was treated when she engaged in her team spirit, her expertise, her innovation, and her creativity to build an organization. And that trauma creates doubt and a fear of visibility and not willing to speak up anymore. She now has become an actor. She wears a mask and her purpose is now derailed and placed in dormancy, despite the fact that she's in a new space. She's very cautious and careful, and this is not her, and her soul is crying out because there is this emptiness, there is this unrest, there is this discomfort, sorry, and there is this grieving The soul is saying, I don't know you. This is not you. And you find that when this change happens, then you become less than yourself. And these are issues that leaders face that they are very silent about. And it hinders you. It is a weight that you're carrying. And sometimes we don't carry it very well. And then there is Carla, 51, who is a nonprofit founder and caregiver to an aging parent. And by the way, she is also a single mother. She believes that she must always hold it together for her team, for her family, and for her church, because I'm a Christian leadership coach. And so asking for help makes her feel like a failure. And so this fear of judgment, of being criticized, of not being strong enough, makes her run on empty and feeling resentful and burnt out. And let me just make it clear, burnt out does not always mean that you collapse. It means that you are constantly overcommitting. Very bad way to go. So you're constantly overcommit. That's one. And you'll find yourself pleasing people. It can also show up as quiet resentment. Thank you for joining, Franklin. Thank you. So you keep leading, but inside there is this leaking of energy from these hidden places. You're running on empty, you're feeling resentful, you're feeling burnt out, you're disengaged, you're disillusioned, and you're disgruntled. Doing too much for too long. And we have this thing that we carry, and we are just feeling we're taking care of ourselves. We're eating properly. And sometimes we are actually writing, and we are appearing at the right functions in networking groups, especially in our jobs. We are not missing any of them. And so we are maintaining our health. We are going to our hairdresser, and so because we have to look good as we carry out our roles and responsibilities, of course. And some people see that as self-care. But soul care is what we need now. And that's the healing balm that promotes holistic self-care. And so you may need spiritual nourishment, not just wellness hacks. And so you keep leading, as I said, but inside you're leaking the energy from the hidden places. Your soul needs to be restored. And we want to understand right here that grief, trauma, and a lack of soul care, which manifests many times as lack of self-care, triggers all sorts of wounds and festers those wounds silently in us. And so we distort our image of ourselves, and sometimes we give in to the doubt, we give in to the cries and the fears of judgment and criticism, and we call that, in a nutshell, and also parts of what I don't agree with, self imposter syndrome. And so it backfires like that. Our performance decreases. We are not able to show up at our A game. We are often very apologetic for being human, and that's not good enough. And so I want to pull us a little deeper into soul care, because soul care starts from the inside. And if we lead with light, we have to change ourselves from the inside. And that's where we want to go today. So we want to look at how we now handle these soul drainers, because they drain our soul. So we want to look how we handle these soul drainers. How do we handle these soul drainers? Because self-care in itself is not enough. We want to look at prioritizing our mental health and our spiritual check-ins. So we want to pause, just want to pause to get perspective. In that pause, you accept that you don't have to be always strong. You don't always have to be the strong one. And you also accept that you don't have to be responsible for everybody's peace. You must secure your own. And you, in that pause, you want to understand that you cannot continue to ignore your emotional engine light. This very, very crucial that we understand that we must take at least the 10 minutes for rest, at least 10 minutes each day. A yes for me and for rest. And so you ask yourself the question, is this mine to fix? Or am I stepping into a space God never assigned me? So when a crisis occurs or in your role, something comes upon you that might be a little overwhelming or traumatic, you want to take that yes moment for yourself, at least 10 minutes. And you want to do that mental health, emotional health, and spiritual check-in. You want to pause. You want to accept. And I'm repeating it for emphasis that you don't have to be the strong one every time, that you don't have to carry that responsibility for everybody's peace and ignore your own, and that you can't ignore your response, what is how it triggers you and how it is triggering others. Because sometimes, because we always show up, because we're always trying to be the strong one, meeting the expectation, being all things for all men, we don't realize that the burdens that we have embraced were never ours to fix, or that we are stepping into a space that God never assigned us. Not every crisis is yours to carry. And you have to now start caring yourself before you collapse. And caring yourself means that sometimes you're physically strong, but emotionally you don't have it all together, because these things are coming one after the other. You are not able to recoup, and you are not strong enough. You are leaking on the inside, you're hurting, you're in pain, and when you're by yourself, you feel overwhelmed and you are pushing yourself, and your self-image is being bruised because you're not showing up the way you ought to be showing up. And we want to be clear about that. And sometimes the burdens, and I want to post this, you may not have meant it like this, but I'm using this in a very, I'm flipping it, Dr. Leslie, because burdens, some of our family members, the burdens that they place on you were never yours to face. Some persons are adults, but we continue to micromanage them. We continue to have that fear that they were going to fail, and the fear that they might just embarrass you because they're your family members. They might just taunt your image and your influence, and they might taunt your impact in the sense that they might just interfere with it in a more particular way. And so these are gifts from friends and families that you should not have had, should not have had. And the challenges that you insist on facing, and that are not yours, that you carry as a badge because of the expectations, sometimes are the ones that break you. And when you are broken, because you have always been there, showing up for everybody, being strong, being resourceful, and always solving those problems, persons don't realize that you are not there, that you don't have it together, and that you are fading until it's too late. And we want to catch that very, very early. We want to catch that. And that is why I'm doing this today, because sometimes we don't catch it. And these bright lights that you are, bright lights of many of your family members and friends, they just go out. and persons are not understanding, but the signs were always there. Were always there. You want to partner with wisdom. Choose those persons, those family friends, those family members who are clearly concerned about you, who pick up those things and those leaks, who are connected with your soul, and who bring you back to yourself without you even asking. They show up for you. They are there. They are watchful. They are very sober. They are very vigilant, because these family members are extremely important, because they are there for you and they help you to survive and to build memories. They help you to feel good on the inside and also look good on the outside. They help you. And so you don't do it alone. You're able to get wise counsel. You're able to be coached. You are able to sharpen your purpose in a community and not in isolation. You're able to journal with God's word and his promises. And you have your confession and spiritual detox that we call vulnerability. I call it confession and spiritual detox. You confess to those who need to know, because not every truth must be told to everyone. Because sometimes when you are not on your A game, it affects those who look to you for support and for guidance. And so you want to be sure that your vulnerability is exposed to the right persons in the right settings, in your family, in your work environment. And you want to also look at how you deal with your challenges and the choices and decisions that you make and what you focus on. And that is called a spiritual detox. You want to be able to look inside yourself, to reflect, to meditate, to seek wisdom from God and not trust your own understanding. And you also want to seek coaching or support from a counselor or a spiritual guide. And those persons are not unrealistic, they are not impractical, they are real. They actually understand what it is. They are real models and they have your beliefs. They embrace the courage, the resilience that is needed in times like these, and they deliver well. They are also vulnerable in themselves, but they're also very supportive and intuitive. These persons also help you to say no, that two-letter word that is so effective. And saying no does not mean that you're walking away. Saying no is guarding your peace and ensuring that you're doing those things that you are created to do. You're pouring into the cups that you're supposed to be pouring in. You're providing the solutions that you were created to provide. And the fact that you know why you exist, you know your purpose, you're not being distracted. No can also be that empowerment for someone else to become a master of his or her own destiny. And so sometimes when you feel guilt by saying no, you imprison people and you keep them in that cage where they are not able to think for themselves, problem solve, and critically move into what is their calling and their purpose, because you are really a hindrance because you keep saying yes. So that no can also be a release button for those persons who must now become masters of their own destiny. So you have created a boundary that safeguards you, your self-care and your soul care, and also elevates and empowers the person that you're saying no. Many times when you tell a person no, especially if it is strategic and it is actually intentional, they become so upset or angry that they decide to do something for themselves finally, and you get that relief that you could have gotten many moons ago if you had just said no. The no also, as I said, safeguards your self-care. That powerful no carries you into freedom, the freedom to take a break, to pause, to breathe, and the freedom to put things in perspective and the freedom to actually guide and not save. We are not created on this earth to save anyone. We are created to guide them into their calling and their purpose and to serve them, impact them, inspire them, and allow them to grow. That is what purpose is all about. That is what legacy building is all about. We create disciples that move into their unique gifting and callings and serve someone, the person, or in the space that they were created to serve, and they pull other persons into their space, and each one reach one, and together we become fulfilled in our different ways, complementing, collaborating, and not competing. And so you want to understand and ask yourself, have I always been the strong one? Do I need to be the strong one? Are you feeling responsible for everybody's peace but your own? You want to reflect on those things. Are you ignoring your emotional check engine light, but you are always identifying others? Do you honor your human limits? Do you practice discipline, digital boundaries? Meaning, do you check yourself, your needs, and what you want before you get up in the morning? Or do you just pull your phone and look at your notifications and your to-do list that you have on your phone? Do you check in with self? Do you safeguard self? Do you nourish self? Do you meet self? Do you talk to self? And do you empower self before you seek to empower others? And carry out your roles and responsibilities and do them very well, but not feeling fulfilled, constantly feeling empty. How have you managed? Have you learned really how to separate your calling from your performance? These are reflections that I want you to think about as I pull down. So there are 3 steps that I promote in my free model as a purpose alignment coach, life coach, and career coach. I ask you to look at striving by resetting. Reflect deeply. What's draining you and what's fueling you? Choose what is fueling you and get rid of what is draining you. Set boundaries. Be very strategic in your actions. Be very intentional. Be very purposeful. Don't be distracted. So you want to realign by asking, where am I off course from my God-given calling? And then you want to listen for those answers. You want to accept those answers. You want to be very vulnerable in your realization of what you need to do to refuel, to create that life or what is feeling good in the inside, your soul health, and not just on the outside, self-care. So you don't want to look like you have it all together when you don't. You don't want to be a high functioning depressive person. You want to rebuild your inner strength through your soul care practices. You want to look in before you look out. You want to lead with light. So your inside must correspond and must be aligned with what is on the outside. Your reality must match your present. And your reality must correspond with your group, your niche. Your impact must make people grow, change your lives, and change their outcomes. You must allow persons to be masters of their own destiny, not mirrors of other men's thought, but use what you are giving them, what you're pouring into them, what you're naturally delivering, because that's what you were established to do, to change their lives and to take charge of who they are and their circumstances and surrounding, and to reach out to those who they were created to impact, to inspire, and to allow to grow. That we call service, the service of purpose. So, what are the key takeaways I want you to take from this? Unaddressed wounds like the fear of rejection, perfectionism, burnout, and so on silently drain your voice, your vision, and your vitality. And unseen burdens like the unresolved trauma, the people pleasing, or the spiritual disconnect can manifest as silence, indecision, or overperformance. And I know many of us might have missed that, the grief that you're carrying, the silence that was forced upon you so that you could be accepted and that there could be what you think peace, and you are able to function in your toxic environment, whether it's in the home or in the workplace, in the community or in the church, can manifest as this disconnect. You're not connected. You're just going through the motions. You're carrying out your role to the T. You're doing well. You're getting the accolades, the awards, and so on. But you're just not there. You are vocal in what you're required to do, but you're very silent. You're indecisive or you overperform. Very, very important that we pick up that. So we also learn that healing is not optional, it's a requirement. It's what I call leadership maintenance. And I have put this out on my Facebook a few times this week because I want us to be reminded that God cannot bless a version of you or who you're pretending to be, because God knows you. The quicker we know ourselves, accept ourselves for who we are, believe in ourselves, love, encourage ourselves, speak life over ourselves, and accept our vulnerability and our human side, the more we pull on our accountability partners and our destiny helpers, the more we find that peace and that authenticity that we call honest, outright living. You can also lead without losing yourself is another key takeaway that I want us to understand. Purpose is not about performance or approval or applause. It's really about wholeness. Being able to lead authentically, unapologetically, with the courage, the determination, and the conviction that what you're doing is what you ought to be doing and what you were created to do. And if you have an issue picking that up, it's not as hard as we really think. You can in fact have a strategy session with me, and we take you to this point. And so we let today be your turning point where you create a life that feels good on the inside and also looks good on the outside. So I want to give you the challenge. I want to give you that challenge. The answers come via intuition. It's the whisper of God. I want to post that. Thank you, Dr. Leslie, again. And hi, Lisa. So good to have you. You speak a healing truth over it. That's your leadership challenge. I call it speaking a healing truth over it. So you want to replace the lie with purpose aligned truth. So you want whatever is a lie that you're telling yourself. You're not allowing yourself to grieve the silence that you have chosen. All of that internal burdens that you're carrying. Always trying to be strong for others and always making sure that person's problems are solved, and also feeling responsible for everybody's peace but your own, and ignoring that emotional check-in I want you to understand that that in itself is not personality traits. It's a soldier. It's soul drainers. It's not a personality trait. It is soul drainers. Hi, Alison. Thanks for joining. And Curtis, thank you so much for joining. And so you want to say yes to the stillness. And that's what I talk about when I say speak the healing truth. You want to write down what you're carrying that is no longer yours. And you want to ask, where do I need to feel held and not heroic? So you want to speak that healing truth in those areas. Then you want to replace the lie with the purpose aligned truth. I am not responsible for everybody's outcome. I lead from the overflow and not depletion. And so you want to delegate your tasks, you want to say no, or you want to book that healing session. And that's it. What internal burdens have you been silently carrying in your leadership role? The fear of failure, over responsibility, people pleasing. And I want you to just write it down. Ask yourself, when did I first start believing this was mine to carry? Was it from a past role, childhood message, or a moment of disappointment? Because remember that we looked earlier at one of the things that was said over you, the expectations that were spoken over you, that you are carrying as a badge when it is a burden, trying to prove to everyone that they were wrong and so on and so on, are burdens that you carry. And so we talk about the grief, we talk about the loss, we talk about those fears, and we talk about the silence that you put on yourself to what you think maintain your peace. All right? If this conversation, any at all, resonates with you, I want you to take the next step. Book a soul sync strategy session with me where we can work together to realign your leadership, your calling, and your soul health for sustainable impact in 2025 and beyond, where you can learn to say no and mean it in the moment, where you are very intentional about being strong for yourself and for those who you were sent to, where you can understand not to buckle under becoming responsible for everybody's peace and not ignoring your emotional engine light. If you're not quite ready, however, because of self doubt or fear or that pressure that is binding you, that has become your comfort spot, and your victim pulled you into wearing the badge of being a victim. You can be a victor by doing a quick purpose alignment audit and moving on from there to create that life that feels good on the inside and not just one that looks good on the outside. Think about it today. What have you learned that you want to change, that you need to change? Do you need to make that call? Do you need to schedule your soul strategic call? I leave you with that and I say thank you. May your Tuesday be peaceful, intentional, and purpose filled. Have a great rest of the week. Thank you so much, Dr. Leslie, for your continued support. Thank you, Curtis. Thank you, Alison. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Nicole. Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you, Marjana. Thank you so much. And for those who will be listening to the replay, I thank you too. And you can always put your thoughts. I am welcome. I look at them and they mean a lot to me. Have a great day, everyone. And thank you so much for taking the time.